What's going on, everyone? So Brian Windhorst gave us a little insight into a way that can kind of strong arm James Harden into having to report to training camp and maybe having to play some games for the Sixers. He said, I don't think it's that simple. I don't think it's that easy for him to hold out because there is an obscure rule that exists buried in the NBA CBA that if he doesn't report within 30 days of the opening of training camp, the Sixers actually have the right to block him from becoming a free agent next year. This is a measure that was put in to prevent these types of holdout situations, so Harden is holding very limited amount of leverage. First off, I didn't even know this was a thing. That's pretty interesting. Secondly, I still think you get rid of James Harden, right? James Harden is a guy that has shown who he is on several occasions. And I am a firm believer of when somebody shows you who they are, you believe them. And he showed you with the Houston Rockets. He showed you with the Brooklyn Nets. Even Kevin McHale came out recently and said that he purposely showed up one season overweight and out of shape and stuff just to get him fired, or that he really believes that because he wanted him gone. James Harden has this stigma and this reputation of when he doesn't and isn't in a position that he's happy or he isn't in an environment that he likes or whatever, he pouts and he cries and he forces his way out. And if he can't force his way out, he'll just quit. And he is a quitter. He's done it. We've seen him do it. So much so they thought he was wearing a fat suit with the Houston Rockets. And it's an absolute mess. And do you really want to drag this on? Right? Like, the problem is that Daryl Morey is a guy that would. He's got the ego. He's a bit stubborn. You know, he likes to play hardball. And, you know, that's great and all, but not at the detriment of your franchise. Right? Like, the Ben Simmons situation, I wasn't against him on. Sure, makes sense. Hold out, see what you can get. He basically has no value. So do you really want to lose all your value? Like, you want to trade him for a bag of peanuts? And he held out and he was able to get James Harden, right? He made the right move. And support him in that. This isn't that situation. You're not going to get some high-end yield return. You're not going to get some star or whatever you're going to be able to swap or something along those lines for James Harden. You're looking at either salary relief or you're looking at some, quality pieces that maybe can have an impact. But James Harden, he'll report. He just will be disruptive in camp. And then on top of that, he will just not show up in games. We saw that. We saw him just making lazy passes, turning the ball over, not taking shots, just being completely unplayable out there. And do you really want that to happen? Do you really want James Harden to try to sabotage this season? We saw Ben Simmons do that. We saw Ben Simmons, on his phone during huddles and just showing up to practices and camp and stuff like that and like just regular street clothes and just chilling, living his best life. James Harden doesn't care. This is a guy who doesn't care about winning as much as he tries to say he does. If he did, he wouldn't be taking flights to Las Vegas and going to strip clubs and getting drunk and doing all this stuff and living his best life in the middle of a playoff series, right? The night before games. He wouldn't be doing that. And he wouldn't be keep trying to force his way out. He just wants to go somewhere where he feels like he could be this guy and he could do what he wants. And it's ridiculous. It's ridiculous at this point. There's no defending James Harden. This dude has become an absolute clown. And it's like, if you're Philly, I understand you don't want to just trade him for a bag of peanuts, but you also don't want to lose Joel Embiid. Joel Embiid has been very patient with the Sixers team. He has been very, just overly patient, in my opinion. I think he should have demanded a trade a while ago, right? And look, I actually think at this point, the best course of action for Philly is to trade Joel Embiid. I really do. I just think the last thing you want is Joel Embiid to publicly or word get out that he wants out and requests a trade, and now you lose a lot of leverage. If it was me, I said this in a video, so I won't go too heavy into it. If you want to check out that video, I'll link it down in the description. But I would sit down with Joel Embiid and I'd be like, look, we can basically clear up a max and a half so we can get a max player and a really good quality rotation player, starting level player next season. But we're going to have to trade James Harden, and we're going to have to get some guys in return that are probably not going to help us win this year. But one, they will actually play and show up and aren't going to try to sabotage the team and the season. And two, it puts us in a better position than we are right now. We want to keep you happy. If you aren't and you don't want to do that, we'll gauge interest and see what we can get in return for you. We're not just going to give you away, but if we can find a package, give us a list of teams that you like, give us a list of teams that you want to go to. We'll kind of gauge their interest and see like what would they want in a potential Embiid trade, and we'll unload you. I honestly think they should do that at this point. Are they going to do that? Probably not. Absolutely not. I don't think they will. So if your plan is to keep Joel Embiid, you need to get rid of James Harden ASAP, because he already went through this with Ben Simmons, and he already had a guy quit on him and quit on Philly. And at some point, does Joel Embiid just say, I can't win with this organization? I can't win when this organization just keeps making bonehead move after bonehead move and gets rid of Jimmy Butler and all this stuff, when I already could have had probably an NBA championship if we would have just done what I said I wanted them to do, which is keep Jimmy Butler, right? And they didn't. And then I had to deal with the whole Ben Simmons thing. And every year we're a first or second round exit. And now we go get James Harden. And once again, we're a second round exit. Now he wants out because Daryl Morey's lying or whatever, right? And now I got to deal with this again. At what point does Joel Embiid just say, all right, enough is enough. Get rid of me. I want out of here. I want to be done, right? And that is the worst thing that could happen to this Sixers team. That is the absolute worst. So they need, in my opinion, they need to trade James Harden immediately. They need to unload him and do whatever you can to make Joel Embiid as happy as possible, or at least make it, have the illusion of things are good and happy as possible. He's got this season, and then after this season, he's got 2 more seasons under contract. So they don't have to trade him, but do you really want him to start distancing himself, and now you're just dealing with this absolute mess and disaster? You don't. So get rid of James Harden. Daryl Morey needs to not play hardball and not try to be all cute and whatnot. Like, you were in this situation. It sucks what happened. It sucks that, James Harden, whatever, miscommunication, or you lied to him, or whatever happened. Whatever happened, it sucks. But guess what? It's time to move on. It's time to unload James Harden. It's time to keep Joel Embiid happy. It's time to move forward with this organization. Sell him on the dream and the idea. He's got a couple years on his contract still, so he might be willing to say, all right, I'll give you a year or so before I start, wanting out. The Sixers are just in a terrible place. And more likely than not, what Daryl Morey is going to do, he's going to try to play hardball with James Harden. James Harden is going to continue to throw his tantrums and continue to be disruptive, continue to be a mess, and Joel Embiid is just not going to be happy, and you're going to end up messing it up. And you're messing up your future. Like, if you're the Sixers, or if you're a star, do you really want to go to the Sixers? Out of all, right now, the Sixers are a dumpster fire. It's the same thing I was saying with the Brooklyn Nets last year. I was preaching this all. I said, trade Kevin Durant to the Phoenix Suns and get rid of Kyrie Irving. At the time, I thought he was going to Lakers. Trade him to the Lakers, trade Kevin Durant, and you know what? They tried to play hardball, and it was a disaster, and it imploded, and they ended up having to trade James Harden for Kyrie Irving for less than they probably would have gotten in the offseason. The Lakers were desperate. They would have given you whatever you wanted. You could have gotten both first-round picks. You could have been in not that the Nets are in a bad position. I actually think the Nets are going to be very good this year, but you probably could have gotten essentially whatever you wanted. You could probably have Austin Reeves on your roster right now if you would have just at the beginning of the season said, hey, we'll take Russell Westbrook and 2 firsts. But no, they wanted to play hardball. They thought they could make it work. ended up being a disaster. They still got a nice return for KD, right? But it was just all the headache, all the nonsense, everything. And you ruin the perception for other stars because they're like, look at the mess in this dumpster fire that this organization is. Why would I want to go there? And it's like, I'm going to go there and they're just going to botch something else. And then Joel Embiid's going to be out. And then now I'm stuck there, right? Like you're jeopardizing now. You're jeopardizing the future. You're jeopardizing Joel Embiid for what? To feel like you won against James Harden. Stop. Sometimes you got to cut your losses. Sometimes you got to move on. The Nets took too long, but eventually they came to that conclusion too that, hey, it's time to move on, right? And they did. And now they're probably better for it. They got a really young, exciting team. Mikal Bridges really blossomed in his own. I just think it's time to move on. But anyway, as always, this is a discussion, so I pass the question on to you. Let me know your thoughts and opinions down in the comments below. What do you think? Do you agree with me? Disagree with me? Somewhere in between? I feel whatever your thoughts are. I'd love to hear it. Let me know.